Let's call to order the August 26th, 2026 meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning and Appeals meeting. I will be filling in for the chairman who could not make it to our meeting this evening. Director, if you could go ahead and call the roll.
Sure. Margaret Clements.
Here.
Skip Daly.
Here.
Guy Loftman.
Here.
Jeff Morris. Pamela Davidson.
Here.
We have 4 members in person and a quorum.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and introduce the evidence, please.
I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence: the Monroe County Development Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance and Subdivision Control Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Comprehensive Plan as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended, and the cases that were legally advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
I move that to introduce the evidence for tonight as you've just enumerated so well.
I second the motion to approve.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the introduction of evidence. A vote yes is a vote to approve. Skip Daly.
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Motion is approved 4-0.
All right, before we approve the agenda, I understand there's a motion that's going to be made.
Yes, I'd like to move that we approve tonight's agenda as advertised, except that we move the administrative business to the end of the meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented with the motion to move administrative business to the end of new business, and otherwise the cases will go in order as advertised. A vote yes is a vote to approve the agenda with that one amendment. Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Motion is approved 4-0.
All right, board members, is there anybody, I'm going to ask a question in the negative. Is there anybody that has not had the opportunity to review the April, May, or June 2026 meeting minutes? Hearing no one, is there anybody on the board that recommends any amendments to those? Hearing nobody, I approve the minutes for April, May, and June of 2026. Let's see, no old business. Let's go ahead and start with our new business. The Brown Eco Area 2 Variance 26-28. Mr. Myers, before you get into your presentation, for the record, has the petitioner complied with notice to everybody that is statutorily required?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
All right. So this is at 3701 East Maples Way. This is one 5.03 acre parcel in Bloomington Township, Section 26. It's zoned conservation residential, and it's in the Environmental Constraint Overlay Area 2. The petitioner is requesting one residential development standards variance from the Environmental Constraints Overlay Area 2 related to the 15% slope regulation. The petitioner is proposing to construct a new 1,250 square foot 2-story residential accessory structure. Each floor will measure 25 by 25 feet for a 625 square foot footprint with an additional 7 feet on one side to accommodate stairs. The total height of the structure will be just under 30 feet, which is the maximum height for accessory structures in this zoning district. The proposed structure will contain a bathroom, but no bedrooms or kitchen facilities. Because of the proposed bathroom, a separate septic system connection will be installed for this structure. There is a mistake in the report that states a separate septic system, as in a brand new septic system will be installed. But upon the site visit and conversations with the petitioner, a connection to the existing septic system will be acquired for this structure. The proposed accessory structure will sit approximately 65 feet from the rear of the house and encroach approximately 20 feet into an area with slope greater than 15%. Position site is listed as Lot 9 of the Lanham Ridge Estates Section 2 subdivision, which was recorded on August 23rd, 1997. And for the record, the first iteration of the environmental constraints overlay was adopted by the Monroe County Board of Commissioners on January 23rd, 1992. The Chapter 823 of the Monroe County Development Ordinance regulates the Eco Area 2, which states that the maximum land slope upon which any land disturbance activity, which includes the removal of vegetation, involved in construction of buildings, driveways, roads, parking lots, and utilities shall be 15%. Therefore, any land disturbance activity to slopes greater than 15% is prohibited by Chapter 823 for property in this Area 2. On the screen, you have the purpose statement from the Environmental Constraints Overlay and that chapter. Now on the screen, you have the provisions for Area 2 with respect to the Chapter 823-5B, which provides regulations for Area 2. There are 4 items here, and we're concentrating on item number 1 and item number 2. Item number 1, I just referenced with respect to any land disturbance activity is prohibited on slopes greater than 15%. And item number 2 states that no land disturbance of natural vegetation beyond the 15% slope line. So due to the nature of this request on this petition with respect to constructing a new residential accessory structure, both of those standards require a variance in order to proceed with the building permit process. The other items, 3 and 4, will be met. Now on the screen is definitions for practical difficulties. This is one of the important pieces to the puzzle of the variance process for the Board of Zoning Appeals to consider. So I have that here on the screen. It's also included in the packet, and we can come back to these definitions if necessary. Here we have the location map, Bloomington Township. We're fairly close to the city of Bloomington's jurisdiction. And interestingly, we are in the Lake Griffey watershed, which is also regulated by the environmental constraints overlay. It's not just the Lake Monroe watershed. On the right, we have the site conditions map. All of the red areas are sloped greater than 15%, which are the areas of regulation. This is just a zoomed in version of the site conditions map here. And here we have the eco area map as presented. So all of the red hatching areas are Area 2, and the blue hatching is Area 1. You can see the Area 1 as you get closer to Lake Griffey, and we are far enough away from Lake Monroe that you won't see the blue with respect to Area 1 for that reservoir. Now on the screen, we have a series of aerial pictometry showing different angles of the property and the existing conditions. So we have the primary residence as well as a detached structure existing on the property. The proposed location of the accessory structure will be in the tree line here a bit. I'll show you some more imagery and site plans that give you a better idea of where that will be located. So just spinning around, looking at the different angles of the property with some contour lines shown here as well. Now we have some on-the-ground photos of the site. On the left-hand side, we have a few minor items on the ground. Those kind of identify where the existing septic tank is. On the right, we have a tree in the background. That is a tree that the petitioner has stated that is likely having to be removed due to its condition and health, as well as it's affecting the location, the eventual location of the proposed structure. So more photographs here as we traverse the site. On the right, we see the wood planks here or branches on the ground, and the petitioner stated during the site visit that that's approximately where the front of the structure will go, so it will extend further into the tree line there, extending into the woods as it goes into the 15% slope. More photographs here. On the bottom right photograph, behind me taking this picture is where the septic field is. So there is quite a bit of a distance from the septic tank to the septic field. And I can show you on some other maps the location of that field. Now on the screen, we have the letter from the petitioner stating their request and their rationale as to why they want the structure on the proposed location. This is included in the packet. Here we have the site conditions map prepared by the petitioner. So the dark rectangle on the right side or eastern side of the property is the existing septic field. The small square that is located to the north of the existing home is the existing septic tank. And then this smaller dark rectangle is where the proposed structure will be approximately placed. So you can see there that it is showing as extending into the protected slope areas. Now on the screen is an exhibit produced by the petitioner that indicates trees in the immediate vicinity that will need to be removed with respect to the construction of the residential accessory structure. And here we have the original subdivision plat that has lot number 9 shown here, as well as a delineation of its building envelope that was detailed back when this was recorded in 1996. Now on the screen are a couple figures, this slide and the next. Staff did a little bit of analysis with respect to the available buildable area on the property, with respect to the existing septic tank and other structures on the property. So this is figure 1 showing an alternate location of the proposed structure within buildable area and with enough distance away from the septic tank. And then this is another figure showing another alternative location for the proposed structure that meets buildable area away from the septic tank, existing structures, as well as the existing septic field. All right, so that brings us to staff's recommendation. Overall, staff recommends denial of VAR-26-28, stating that practical difficulties have not been demonstrated. Per the strict application of the County Development Ordinance, there are other areas on the property suitable for the construction of the proposed residential accessory structure that do meet buildable area. I'll now take any questions.
At this time, unless if there are any imminent clarification questions for staff, which I'm seeing none, let's just go ahead and bring up the petitioner. Thank you. While you approach, please keep in mind that the microphone, we need to hear what you have to say, so adjust that as needed. If you could sign in, and after signing in, if you could speak your name for the record.
My name's Kevin Brown.
Kevin Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown, before we begin, if you could raise your right hand for me. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth as you know it?
It certainly is.
All right, we're going to offer you 15 minutes.
Okay. I also have a bit of a presentation, but I also have copies, hard copies, that may help you guys follow along.
You can approach and hand them, but you can't speak because it's not on the record. And if staff could make sure that gets entered into evidence.
First off, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. And I thought Drew's presentation was pretty much right on point. Let me tell you just a little about our background for this. My wife and I bought this property and built the house in 2005. If you look at the lot, there's an absolutely gorgeous ravine that's part of it. We really wanted to build something so we could see the ravine when we originally did it, but didn't have the money. So now that I've finished teaching, so I was a law professor here for 35 years. Thank you. The last 4 years I was in South Carolina teaching there. And indeed, part of teaching there was to get the money to build this structure here. I know that there's some concern about the potential water runoff into Lake Griffey. And I also go to Lake Griffey, so I really care about Lake Griffey. It's about a 45-minute walk from my house. I just have to know how to actually get there, but there is a way to get there. So this for us is the project we're doing because now I am retired, so I'm spending a lot more time at the house. And we now have the money to actually build this structure. And I only got one.
Thank you.
That's to show you that the structure itself will mimic the front of the house. So it'll be very much a building that looks like it's part of the property. As I understand it, the primary problem here is that there are potentially other locations where I could build it. And that's what I want to address, those other locations. And this is where, I don't know, is there some way we can advance or if, so just go to the first picture. Okay, so this is where I want to build the structure. And I'll quickly talk about why I want to build it there, and then I'll address the two alternatives. When we originally were going to do this, we were going to push it closer to one of the alternative sites. But it turns out, and this is literally in the last 3 weeks, we've got the largest oak tree on our property that has clearly died or is in the process of dying. So we brought out 2 different tree people as well as an arborist, Matt Baldwin, to take a look at the tree to see if it could be saved. All of them agree that the tree has to come down. So since there's a tree that's going to have to come down, we decided that would be the perfect place to put it because we will have already disturbed the soil and we're going to have to go through the whole process of taking it down. So that's why that's the favorite site for us. It's also directly closest to the house, which means, and this is a supplemental property that is intended to be connected to the house by a walkway. So putting it there, the walkway is not very large, and we know that one big tree has to come down. We're not sure if we'll have to take down other trees. It's possible that we'll have to take down another one, maybe 3, but I think only another one. But that's not even certain. So that's one of the real reasons that we want to do it there, connected to the house, closer through the walkway that we'll have, which it'll be elevated by 10 feet. So it's not on the ground. It's actually coming 10 feet off. The reason we have to connect it with a walkway is because we do have coyotes on our property and we have a ton of those possums on there. So there's a little danger about walking there at night, and we do also get an occasional skunk. My wife, if she were here, she would tell you there's absolutely no way she would let me go there if there wasn't a walkway. So from the standpoint of mitigation efforts, we're willing to do whatever it takes. Our contractor, which is Josh Walcott, is going to put a silt screen, as I understand, or silt fence, but indeed we'll actually put 2 to make sure that we minimize any runoff of the water. If we do have to take down other trees, we would take them down only to the stump. So we wouldn't dig up the roots. We'd leave the roots there in order to keep the soil compacted there. And we have recently had Nature's Link redirect some of the water that was standing in our backyard into one of the spaces where it's one of the alternative sites, and I'm going to show you that in just a minute too. But that's why we want to build it there. Now, if you could go to the next slide for me. Okay. This is the first alternative site. And then if you could go to the next slide. This is the second alternative site. And then if you can go to the next slide. Okay, and this is the one I want to talk about. Okay, so let me start here. This is the tree that
You're pointing at the tree that has to come out.
And if we do one of the alternative sites, I think that other tree's got to come out. And that other tree is the third largest tree that we have. So we're losing our largest tree, which means if we end up having to pull that tree down, then that's losing our two of our tallest three trees. But let me go into, so go to the next slide. Okay. So this is my rendering of the proposed place we want to do it, which is in the middle. And then there are the other two. And this is the slide I think I'll use to try to explain why I think the two alternative sites don't work nearly as well as the first one. The first alternative site, you can see how far away it is from our house. So we would be building a walkway that's got to go all the way there, which is quite a distance. Now, I'm actually going to turn 70 in October. My wife is 65. So one of the things we're worried about is a long distance that we'll have to walk as we get older. A second problem that we have with that site there, let's see. Oh yeah, is to build a walkway there is gonna compromise a lot of my backyard because the walkway would have to come from the main house all the way there, so you can see how much of the backyard is gonna be compromised by the walkway. And then that won't actually give us nearly as good of a view of the ravine, right? The whole purpose of this is a tree house to get a better view of the ravine. So the reason we're against that site is, number one, it would be a long walkway. That means it'll cost more to build it. But then, as I said, we're worried about as we get older, the difficulty of getting out there. And then it doesn't give us nearly as good of a view of the ravine as what we're trying to get with the other property or with the other location. With respect to the second location, it is closest to the house. So it reduces the issue of the walkway. And this may be my fault, but I am certain that if I put it there, it will compromise my septic tank because I have the septic tank is over here, which means the pipe that takes water or from the septic tank to the septic field has to run right through there. So it would mean we'd have to completely move the septic field or septic connector. And of course, I don't know exactly how expensive that's going to be, but it would clearly have to be done. The other problem with this one, as I said before, is going to require me taking down my third largest tree on my property. So it actually will disturb more soil than if we put it where we already have to take down the biggest tree. And a sprinkler system. We just put in a sprinkler system literally 6 weeks ago. And locating it there would clearly require us to move the sprinkler system because part of it, that's that. So that's the reasons that we're kind of against number one and number two, I'm sorry, the two alternative proposed sites as opposed to our preferred one. Now, if you go forward to the next slide, and I thought this was a better picture in the sense that this shows you the one tree that we'd have to take down for alternative. That's the tree has to come down anyway. So that's the tree where we're really trying to locate this at. The next slide. Come back to the tree, That's the tree. So you can see how that tree is dying and has to come down. I mean, under any circumstance, we've got to take that tree down. In the next slide. Okay. Then it just shows you the outside of the structure. The next slide.
That's all of the slides that I have. I understand that the packet that we received has more pages, but the attachments that I received that was the end of it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So screwed up my presentation there. Although you should have gotten, I actually sent 3 different emails.
Yes, 2 of them I believe were of the same materials, and then the third one was this
Okay.
one here.
We have additional pictures of the tree in the packet you provided
Okay.
us on page 12.
Oh yeah. Well, let's do it that way. That'll help. So I guess I was smarter than I thought I was in terms of preparing this packet. Can I take you then to?
And to be forthcoming here, looks like your time is down to 3+ minutes.
Oh yeah, no, I'm almost done. That won't be a problem. So if I can take you to page 15 in the packet. Page 15 is to give you a view of where proposed site number 1 would be. And then page 16 is really just an effort to show you how long of a walkway I would have to build from our house to that location for the first alternative site that was suggested. So I'm really just trying to display that's going to require a very long walkway, much longer than the one that we want to would have to build for the proposed site. And then the next one would be page 18. Okay. And 18, this shows you the area where the second alternative site is at. And it's also trying to show you it's got to cut that tube that's taking the refuse from the septic tank to the septic field, because it just has to be there. And in page 19, what I'm trying to show you there, page 19, that tree, that's the tree that would have to come down if it's that second alternative site. And you can see that's a very healthy tree. You can also see the tree that we're gonna have to take down anyway. So the core I'm really saying here is our proposed site means less of a walkway to get there, less disturbance of the property itself. It actually preserves a number of trees for us, and it doesn't create a septic problem for us. And as I said, we're very interested in protecting Lake Griffey. So we're willing to do any additional mitigation measures that you think would be helpful. And with that, I think that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, I have questions. I have questions.
Sure.
Can we go back to the slide with the 3 boxes showing the 3 sites? Yes, this one. Out of those 3, left, middle, right, your proposed
Middle.
site is the middle.
Because that's where the tree that's got to come down is at.
I see. Okay, great. I have another question, but I've forgotten it. I'll think of it as you ask
Okay.
I'm
yours.
still thinking of mine. As I recall, you're saying this addition, or this structure,
Yes.
is going to be elevated.
It would be a 2-story tree house. I call it a tree house, but it's really just a 2-story structure. So you mean, so it's ground level going up?
Okay, it's not that you have pillars that go up and then you get to the tree
No,
house.
no,
That
no, no,
would
no.
be
This is
a-
built directly on the ground.
My second question is for staff. We're worried about the 15% slope, and I very much appreciate your service as a law professor,
you.
oh my,
Thank you.
for all
Thank
those
you.
years. But also coming with such good information about tree loss, because we do care about tree loss and disturbance of soil, as you do as well. We're worried also about the 15% slope. This proposed structure, did I read in the notes that it takes us to the 25% slope? Is that the differential, or can you clarify that for me?
Seemed to me that it was 20 feet into the 15.
Yes, I don't believe that it encroaches into the 25%, but let me see if I can verify that 1 second.
The slope also matters, particularly to some of my colleagues.
And while he's checking that, Mr. Brown, is the foundation a slab?
Let me put it, there's nothing underneath it. There's no basement or anything like that. Now, because there is a slope to the ground, I guess
It'll
there's
be a
got to
partial
be.
crawl.
Yeah, yeah. So there's got to be, I
Okay.
guess, some gravel that goes.
Oh, okay.
But
Yep. Okay.
I can answer Pamela's question now. It does not encroach into 25% slope. It's only the 15% that's in violation.
And is Mr. Daly right? It's 20 feet into the 15%?
Correct. 20
and
feet.
the 20 feet out of a total footprint of what?
25.
The footprint
25.
of the structure is 25 by 25.
Oh, it's
Although something there
yeah, I
said 32.
right. I do 32 because there's got to be a stairway to get you from the first floor to the second floor, but that would be. We haven't quite figured out. I'm to meet with the architect tomorrow to figure out how he does that. So that's why I went with 32 feet instead of 25. But that's width. That's not depth. So the 32 feet doesn't go into.
Can I confirm with Mr. Myers that what we're seeing here is what he submitted, the 32 by 25 then?
What was submitted was 25 by 25 with the addition of a 6 to 7 foot stairwell on the side. And he communicated that there was still some deliberations about architectural standards.
And that stairwell wouldn't be impacted by the code, would it?
The structure encroaches back into the slope area. So it goes into the slope and then out into the slope. And so yeah.
Just out of curiosity, from the picture that was shown.
I can leave. I don't want the that's the whole notion. I want the stairs to go up part of the way and then come back, not go all the way back, because I don't want it encroaching into yeah, I don't want it going up because that would start to block the view of the second floor windows. So I want it to go up and then come back, if that helps.
My question is, from the picture that you had of those 3 sites, the 2
Yes.
that staff said could work and you suggested otherwise, why couldn't that third structure, or maybe it could, be brought closer in to have less of an impact?
Oh, the answer to that's simple. It's a septic tank. I've got to stay 10 feet away from
Okay,
the
so the
septic
tank is there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You sort of see the satellite antenna. The septic tank's just right on the ground.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
So
but
moving it
yes.
closer is
If
not
I could have
option.
brought it, yes.
It was just blowing my mind there. Why?
No, I could, believe me, I would have, but as I said, I'm trying to stay 10 feet away from the septic
Right.
tank.
Anywhere in your packet here, I have just quickly thumbed through. Is there anything you've had a lot of professionals out there? Have they put on pen to paper on the trade-off, the environmental trade-off versus encroaching on that 15 degree slope
Oh,
versus what you're offering, which could have a less detrimental impact on the environment?
Only in the sense that they talked about how much damage is going to be done to the soil to take down that one big tree.
Okay.
I mean, I will say, that's what's
Just a question.
driven our selection of that spot was, if you got to take it down anyway, that's the place to put it.
All right, do we have any other questions?
I just have a question about, this would be contingent upon the building department issuing augmentation to the current septic field. I mean, I imagine there would be a bathroom inside. This would be subject to the building department and health department's approval of additional bath.
So the health department issues septic permits based on bedroom count. So I'm not sure how they would address another connection to the existing septic tank. I don't know of the septic tank's current capacity, how many bedrooms it's rated for. So the petitioner, as part of their standard building permit process, would need to go to the health department to make sure that a new connection to that system is feasible and is documented as part of the process.
So he says he might have one bed in the
No, I won't have a bed in there. No, I'm sorry. Our house is a 5-bedroom house. And when we built it, I had 2 minor kids with me and 2 kids in college. They're all gone. So we have 4 vacant bedrooms. So we don't need another bedroom.
But I mean, the drawings don't depict it like a bathroom or.
No, there is a bathroom. Yeah, there will be a bathroom.
Okay, or a kitchen, a kitchenette.
No, just a bathroom.
Okay, that clarifies one question I had.
All right, do we have any other questions?
Yeah,
from
I'm struggling. Okay, let me be.
You're-
I'm struggling with this. Okay, I'm not. Can I see the pictures of the front of the house? Yeah, that's
Okay.
now is that.
Well, this is the proposed front of the treehouse, the new building. Yes.
And so you walk out your door and walk down the walkway. You walked out your back door, I assume, and down the walkway, and then you go in the door here.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. The answer is to your question is no. First off, I would say this is me on AI. Okay, so this is me putting it in artificial intelligence, pushing it out. This is not an architectural drawing. But what that would be is more or less the front. So you'd have maybe 3 or 4 feet that extend from the building for the 2 pillars. But the walkway will have to come in, I would suspect, up there at the second level, not the first level.
So what happens what's on the first level?
You mean what's in the first level?
Yeah, what?
Oh, well, the purpose of the front level is just a great room. So it would be a room that would have granite on the walls and pillars in the corners.
Okay, let me tell you.
Okay.
One of my sometimes we've had structures that encroach that were elevated. They were built on poles, on pillars, on stilts.
Okay.
So that each stilt only has a final disturbance of like 1 square foot, as opposed to being built on a foundation. If you build this on a foundation, it's going to have a lot of disturbance of this slope.
Okay.
But a room that's not critical to your treehouse.
If you mean the first
floor,
it's absolutely critical because otherwise I'm at the ground level and I'm not going to be able to see.
No, I'm saying if instead of a full structure, you lift this up, and I'm not an engineer and I'm not an architect, but if instead of having a ground floor and a second floor, you just put the second floor on stilts.
And eliminate the first floor?
And eliminate, but lift it. Lift the floor.
If I lift the first floor and hence the second floor,
Well,
because you're telling me I can't go higher than 30 feet.
what I'm saying is that you, instead of these being pillars, that you walk in the front door here, these are, because you don't walk in the front door, you're gonna walk in the front door
No,
up here.
there will be, you can't walk in the front door. You would just walk over the grass as opposed to the walkway.
Okay, so what I'm suggesting is if
Okay.
instead of this being a solid structure,
Uh-huh.
this is just pillars so that the whole thing is elevated.
But what about the first floor?
You wouldn't have a first floor. You would just have the second floor,
But
which would have a beautiful view.
Well, the first floor is, okay, I'm sorry, maybe, let me describe the first floor then, because the first floor is, to me, as important as the second floor. So the point of the first floor is it's to create a room that is just a fantastic room to be in. So it would have along each wall granite slabs, and those have already been picked out. The floor of it would be a gold tile floor, and then the ceiling would be a coffered ceiling with specially designed tiles in the middle. So the point of the first floor is really to bring people into a space where they go, wow, this is an incredible space to be in.
I understand that. I understand
Okay.
that. I'm just not comfortable with this much encroachment into 15% slope. It's one of my touchstones. And in terms of taking down the tree, I mean, a tree can be taken down with minimal disturbance of the soil. You don't have to dig out the root system, or you can, if you need to get rid of the tree, you can get rid of the tree so it's not a hazard without actually disturbing much soil. I'm just not comfortable. It's just one of my things. It's one of the things I care about particularly, and I care about it in Lake Monroe, and I care about it in Lake Griffey, is that there's no particular reason. This is not the most convenient place to build. Number one is a practical place to build, but it means you got a longer walk. But
Well, you mean as opposed to the
As to-
other one that's further away?
yeah. If they're 1, 2, and 3, I understand 3 is impractical because it would be over your
Okay,
pipe from
the
your
septic
septic
system.
system
Okay,
to your
okay.
septic field, and that's not a practical solution. That's not a solution. Number 2, the preferred site is your preferred site. It's got several advantages, but it's got one big disadvantage, and that is it encroaches a substantial distance into the 15% slope. Site 1,
Can I at least say in response, part of the reason it has to encroach is because I have to say 10 feet away from the septic system. Part of the encroaching is required. Okay.
to put it in number 2, to put it in your
Yes.
in your preferred location, it has to be as far back as it is. It has to encroach that much. But if you put it in number 1,
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to encroach at all. You've got a longer walk.
And you don't care about the trees?
I do care about the trees.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
do care about trees, but trees back more quickly. The house is going to be there for a very, very, it's not a house, but this structure is going to be
Yeah.
there for a very long time. Many, for decades or a century or whatever. And you want to put our ordinance doesn't say you can't cut down trees. We care about cutting down trees, but you don't need a variance to cut down the trees. You need a variance to extend into the 15% slope. And that's the decision I'm
You're concerned
presented
with.
with. Is
I
there
see.
is it impractical? I know it cuts down trees, and I'm sorry it cuts down trees, but you don't need any variance for that. You're allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do this unless we decide there's something impractical about the other solution. And frankly, I hate to say it. I'd love to say yes. I mean, one of the things we do is try to get to yes, but I don't see how I can
Okay,
get
let me
to
just
yes.
ask, because this also makes it a longer walk for me as I start to approach 80. I mean, I'm 70 now, but that doesn't move you. Okay.
May I ask a question? Between the site on the left and the middle one, the recommended and the preferred, in between those two, because there's a patch of ground, would that ameliorate having to take the trees down? And would it make the walk from the house any shorter if it were in
I got you.
between?
Well, so this is where I will have to take down the least. It's conceivable, I don't want to say for certain, but it's conceivable the only tree that has to come down is the tree that's got to come down anyway. If I do move it, I'm still got to stay away from the septic tank, which is going to push me into taking down more trees. I personally don't have a problem pushing it further to the left. As I said, we really are siting it this way because we've got to take away the tree. And the second, of course, is the length of the walkway is shorter with number 2 than if pushing it further.
For the benefit of my colleagues, I think some of the issue is here, it's that 15-degree slope is not a straight line, right? It's on page 5 of his handout. It jigs and jags, and part of the house is within the 15-degree slope. The entire septic field is in the 15-degree slope. I mean, it's just waving in and out, and there's like just a very small portion, and that happens to be the portion where his septic tank is, and he's got a legal perimeter around there that needs to be refrained against. So I would, regardless of how you're leaning, just please keep that in mind. I'm gonna ask for calling the public up at this time.
Good idea. Good idea.
And we'll see what anyone may or may not have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Now, if somebody does have a disagreement, you'll have the opportunity to rebut that. All right. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak on behalf of this presentation and petition? Is there online? Is there anybody online that wishes to speak on behalf of this petition? All right. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak against this petition? Is there anybody online that wishes to speak against this petition? Seeing no one. Let's go ahead and have some dialogue here and see if there's a motion to be had.
I will offer one piece of clarification with respect to tree removal on property. Tree removal is not does not require a permit or a variance as long as it's not in the 15% slope when it's in area 2. So the trees on the property that are outside of slope greater than 15% are not protected. But if you are a tree and you're in the 15% slope area, it is protected. So I just wanted to offer that clarification.
Okay.
So does that apply to the tree he's having removed?
It's hard. Yes, I believe the tree that is planning to be removed due to its health is in the 15% slope.
Right.
But the other trees that he mentioned that would have to be removed from option 2 from staff, I believe maybe outside of the slope area. So those would not require a variance if he just chose to remove those. But he's saying that he does not want to remove those with respect to his decision.
Could you put back the three? So you're saying, would this one, which is the one on the left, would that require, do you think that would require a variance for tree removal?
It's hard to see on this map without showing the shading of the sloped areas. The 15% is a 7.5-foot fall over a 50-foot distance.
Right.
If this location that he's depicted is true, that it's not in any 15% slope area and it is located exactly where staff had delineated, then those trees are would not be protected. So he would, theoretically be able to build there without a variance and eliminate those trees without a variance because it's all outside of the slope.
Could I? Okay, I'm looking at the house, and is it in compliance, or was a variance issued previously so that this could be built within the slope, the home?
The existing house?
Yes.
So oftentimes what we see with older properties, we will see LiDAR data and the contours shown here.
Yes.
Sometimes that is contour data that was taken maybe before construction occurred, or it is actually taken into account the slope of the property. So those slopes that are shown in red right where the home is may have been man-made, and then the LiDAR data depicted them as steep slope, but it was man-made.
Okay, thank you.
I do find it compelling that the amount of land that they have to choose to build on is quite modest in size. And thank you, Mr. Daly, for commenting that the slope undulates, goes in and out. It is not a straight line. Undulate, that is a good word. And it's not a straight line, and so the property could not precisely fit any perfect scenario.
The preferred site.
The preferred site.
Right.
Yes. Other comments?
Mike is on.
It was thinking about it in totality, and I understand the constraints of the septic field and the septic tank and then the pipe connecting the two and the irrigation system, et cetera. But then there's the 15% slope restriction into which you're significantly wishing to build. It's not, it's 32 feet by 25 feet, including the staircase. So that's causing me a little consternation, more than a little consternation, I understand the desire.
And I believe while it's 32, there's only 20 feet that is being impacted by this.
Pardon me?
There's only 20 feet that's impacting the 15 degree.
I see.
Is there any thought about reducing the size of the structure so the slope is not impacted, or is the size of the structure deeply in your heart? And believe me, I understand about wanting a first floor and a second floor. I get that completely.
Okay. I hadn't even thought about doing it smaller. It's got to be big enough to make it worthwhile to do. That would be a completely different project. Yeah, that's what but I'd have to, I don't know.
Just had to ask.
Yeah, well, I'll say, because part of it, and I'll say one of my real concerns about that is because we do need a bathroom on that second floor, that means the first 8 feet of that second floor is taken up by the bathroom, and then there would be the utility closet and just a little small space. So I've only got 17 feet plus 25. So it'd be 17 by 25, which I could put windows in. So if all of a sudden I got to pull that in 5 by 5, for example, then it's 15 by 12. That would be. That would, yeah. So that's why I'd have to do a lot of thinking.
I'm gonna just remind my colleagues here, I had Mr. Myers put up the definition of practical difficulties rises from conditions of the property that do not generally exist in the area. Yeah, you know, this ungulation is pretty unique. Precludes the development or use of property in a manner enjoyed by other conforming properties. And yeah, I mean, he made the case of the distance and the consistency with the design. I think the petitioner made a reasonable claim for letter C, which is really here. I'm tending to, well, it's you know, this could be a coin flip. I'm tending to think that by the letter of our definition of practical difficulties, I think he made his case.
There's also the impairment and stability of a natural or scenic area. The one that seems to the standards for design variance approval.
Well, that's not in question here.
Yeah.
The staff didn't bring that to us to determine.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Design standards variance, the rationale for design standards variance, whether or not the condition has been met.
That's, you brought this forward to us to define whether or not practical difficulties have been met. Is that correct?
Yes. So in the findings of fact for the petition, there was a finding that practical difficulties have not been demonstrated, and then there was a finding that it could impair the stability of a natural or scenic area based on the encroachment into the slope area, and that's item number 1, as stated in 841-4F, standards for design variance approval. So there were 2 conditions, if you will, that triggered staff's recommendation. And I may remind the board that, you know, staff is recommending denial, and oftentimes if we are recommending approval, we also may offer conditions of approval. So if the board finds that there are specific conditions of approval that they would like to add to a motion, then they are welcome to do so.
Thank you. Anyone have any other discussion or feel compelled to motion?
I'm not sure how popular this will be, but I'm going to recommend we approve variance 26-28 Brown Eco Area 2 15% slope encroachment variance to Chapter 823, because in my estimation, practical difficulties in terms of the land site have been demonstrated.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-26-28, which is the Brown Eco Area 2 15% slope encroachment variance to Chapter 823. A vote yes is a vote to approve. I'll remind everyone that since we have 4 members tonight, we still need a vote of at least 3 members for it to pass. Guy Loftman?
No.
Pamela Davidson?
Yes.
This gives me a lot of consternation. It really does. I've been thinking about this, and I drove by the property, and I don't think I've really seen proposal with this amount of disturbance, 20 feet into the 15% slope. And that's pretty significant. I would kind of prefer to see if this could be continued, to see if any kind of redesign could be done, or if the other conditions can be met. My suspicion is that it's not going to meet the septic approval, and I'd like to make sure that it meets the septic approval. But right now, as it is, it's a significant encroachment into the 15% slope, and I feel, you have a great vision for this, and you want that tree house. You have the opportunity with the tree coming down, but my vote is going to have to be no. I'm sorry.
Skip Daly?
Yes.
Okay, so that motion does fail by a vote of 2-2. Options are to put another motion to vote on, or this automatically is continued to our next meeting, which isn't until October 7th.
So in other words, it's not an outright rejection. It is a continuance because we neither approved nor denied the proposal. So this gives you an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and figure out whether those stairs are inside or outside the building, whether or not there's any accommodation that can be made to move the structure slightly more into, without encroaching as much into the 15% slope. And then there's also going to be a third person here in October that could change the vote, so to speak, right?
All right.
Believe me, if I could have found a better spot for it.
Mr. Brown, I'm going to ask you to hold off one moment. I'll give my colleagues the opportunity for another motion. I don't know if they'll take that opportunity. My guess is no. All right. At this point, do we have to motion to continue with this?
It's automatically
Continued all
for
right.
lack of
I'm going to go ahead and close this. And with that, as Ms. Clements mentioned, there are 5 members of the BZA. Tonight there's only 4. You had a stalemate tonight. You'll have the opportunity to reschedule and to come back. I think you'll probably have the option of October or perhaps November, but you can work that out with your person at staff. I would recommend you listen through and go on to Cat's TV and watch this a couple times and hear whatever concerns that were mentioned, and sit down with your engineering team and sit down and see if you can come a little closer to where the comments are, and maybe you'll find the votes, maybe you won't. I'm not sure, but we'll welcome you back in October or your soonest convenience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Your outstanding presentation.
Outstanding.
And thank you, Mr. Myers and Director. All right, next up, number 2 and number 3 all together. Variants 26-29 Alpha and 29 Bravo. The Rocky Side Yard Setback Variance to Chapter 804 and the Rocky Riparian Area Setback Variance to Chapter 813. Mr. Brown, before you go forward with your presentation, has the petitioner complied with the statutory requirements of notification?
Yes.
Fantastic. If you could continue with your presentation.
Thank you. The purpose of this petition is that the petitioner is planning to construct a 1,200 square foot, measuring 30 feet by 40 feet, detached garage on this property. The petition site is zoned agricultural residential 2.5 AGR and contains 2.5 acres by deed, more or less. According to Chapter 804 of the CDO, the side yard setback for a property in the agricultural residential 2.5 zone is 15 feet from the property line. The proposed detached garage will sit 3 feet from the property line instead, which is a 12-foot encroachment. In addition, a riparian area is present on the side and rear of the property, which has a required setback of 50 feet from the center line. According to observations made by staff, the detached garage will encroach 7 feet into the required riparian area setback, which is demonstrated in Exhibits 6 and 7 in the staff report. So, a bit of background, planning staff was contacted by the builder, Nick Rocky, in July of 2026 about the permit process. We informed him of the details, and a pre-design was applied for PILP-364. During that review, the zoning inspector discovered that based on the location of the proposed garage, a side yard setback, rear yard setback, and a riparian area setback would be required. But the planning director communicated with the petitioner, who agreed to move the proposed garage forward slightly in order to avoid requiring a rear yard setback in addition to the other two variances you're hearing tonight. The petitioner's property is practically bisected by a riparian area, with the existing single-family home and driveway access all on the eastern side of the riparian area. There is an existing shed in the same general area as the proposed garage, which would be demolished if this variance is approved. And we do acknowledge that there is some challenging topography as well that the petitioner is trying to work with in placing the structure in their proposed location. Here's the location map and zoning map of the property and surrounding area, as well as the comprehensive plan and site conditions map. Here are some images of the property. The image on the left is a partial view of a mobile home, as well as the existing home on the property. By mobile home, I just mean in a recreational vehicle. I apologize. The image on the right is a closer look at the existing home. These two images show the proposed location as indicated by some stakes that were put out. As I said, the shed, as well as I believe the playground equipment, would be demolished or perhaps relocated in the case of the latter. Here's an area of the view here's a view of the area just west of the proposed location, showing a sharp decline in slope near the riparian area. And the images on these next two slides show the riparian area itself. This is a certified plot plan that was done by a surveyor with an after-the-fact marking showing the proposed location of the garage near where my mouse is on screen. Here is also an aerial of the property showing the riparian areas in question, as well as the proposed location of the garage. And so staff recommends denial of VAR-26-29A and VAR-26-29B. We feel that the petitioner could redesign or relocate the structure to be 15 feet in height or less, which under the standards of the county development ordinance would make it only require a 5-foot side yard setback, or even move it to another location to meet a riparian area setback. The petition site also functions as a single-family residential lot without the addition of a pole structure or garage, and the petitioner has not submitted findings to support all of the criteria for practical difficulties. And I will take any questions.
Do we have anything imminent for Mr. Brown? All right, let's go ahead and call up the petitioner and or a representative. All right, if you could adjust the mic to your liking and sign in your name.
Sure.
And when you're done with that, if you could go ahead and speak your name into the microphone for us. It's a reminder that anything that you say that needs to be on the record needs to be spoken into the microphone. Your name?
Nick Rocky. Nick Rocky.
Rocky, could you raise your right hand? And do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth as you know it?
It is.
All right, we're going to set 15 minutes on that timer, and you're good.
Sure. Okay, if you could go back to the plot map that shows the location of everything.
This one on screen?
That works. I can work with that. Okay. So with the property shaped the way that it is, the driveway comes in right here, as you can see. This is the fence line right here. This is the riparian right-of-way right here. There really is nowhere else to build. This is it. Literally, this is it. There's nowhere else to go. With this being the riparian right here, this was also called riparian right here, but it's not. I still don't understand why it is, other than the fact that it's stormwater drain off. This is dry 99% of the time. The only time there's water right here is when everything washes down. But there's no set stream, there's no spring. I understand it's called riparian, but there's no water back here. No problem. We can move it up, and I agreed to move it up. And the 3-foot setback on the side, we can go to 5. That's not a problem. What we can't do is shrink the height of it. The height is so we can store a boat and other vehicles. If we shrink the height, we can't put the boat in there, which defeats the whole purpose of this. So I feel like I've done everything I can to try and make this work. There is no other way to make it work. The photos that were shown of the riparian over here, I don't really know how those are even relevant, because it's not within 50 feet, it's not within 100 feet of what we're doing. So those right there, I don't even understand why those were taken. But there it is if you want to see it. Like I said, the back, there's no water. You're welcome to come and look. That's all I've asked for all along, is people to communicate and come and look and see what's actually happening. It's hard to see on a photo. Photo's worth 1,000 words, but your eyes see a lot more. I don't know what else we can do, but I'm game to listen if anybody has any suggestions. Thank you.
I would like to start by saying, Mr. Rocky, of all the witnesses we've had, you're the only one who ever figured if you carry the microphone with you, you can get up close to the...
It just seemed a lot easier.
And I'm going to suggest it to witnesses in the future, and would appreciate your figuring out that little solution to our conundrum.
That's what I do. I solve problems.
My question for staff is, we've just heard the petitioner say they can move the structure to comply more with the setback and with another issue, but the height is his question. The documents we have that you denied, the petition that you denied, was it Plan A or Plan B with the changes he agreed to?
So I will say that the petitioner and the representative has been very communicative. At first application, we identified 3 variances. They moved it. We went down to 2 variances, and now they're stating that they will try to maybe make it 1 variance. So if they move it 7 feet, if you have 7 feet more, because you already moved it 2 feet, if you move it 7 more feet north and stay out of that riparian setback, that would make one of the variances no longer necessary. Now, your request to move it over to meet a 5-foot setback is sort of a moot point if the structure is more than 15 feet in height. So that's just if you would like to make that as a concession to the BZA since that is a standard in the county. If something's accessory to a residence and it's 15 feet or height or less, 15 feet high or less, it can be 5 feet from the setback. So right now what he's proposing is 3 feet on the side. So if that helps.
So what you're saying is that if we move the structure a few feet, then they can have the height they want.
If they move the structure 7 feet north, they get out of the riparian setback and they no longer need the VAR-26-29B, and they only need the side yard setback.
Right. Can we go back to the slide that was just up? Now, the red is the proposed
Correct.
Structure.
Yes.
And we're saying move it a little farther away up here toward where I've pointing
House.
my laser. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Rocky, are you saying that that's acceptable?
That's acceptable. We can do that.
Okay.
It's the height. I can't come down. It
But
defeats
the
the purpose.
height's okay if it's moved that much. Is that right?
Well,
So he's
for one of
exceeding the
them.
15 feet. So he's exceeding the height structure of 15 feet. So his side setback is 15 feet.
So if he moves it 7 feet, it will only be the side setback that we're talking about.
In terms of what you would need our approval for.
Right. I just want to know in this photo right here, if I may, this is taller than 15 feet, this barn. In fact, all of the accessories around here are taller. They're all barns. Just
Once again, Mr. Brown, on the side setback, was that 6 feet that we were talking about? What's the side setback problem?
The side yard setback is supposed to be 15 feet for structures that are 15 feet or higher in height.
So what is the deficit that we're experiencing?
We are looking at a 12-foot encroachment into a 15-foot setback.
12. Okay. So he's got a 3-foot setback and he needs 15.
That's correct.
Okay, so assuming you move that 7 feet north, that's all we're looking at right now.
He does not have 15 feet. For the record, you don't have 15 feet to meet the side setback. You'd run into the house.
right. So instead of it being a 3-foot, I could do 5 foot, but that's like my limit. I can't at that point.
We got you. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just trying to understand if and then statements.
Okay. So,
Right. Other questions?
so as I understand it, you're saying you could move it a few feet north and a few feet
Absolutely, yes.
and that would minimize the non-compliance.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Right.
we'll see what
Any other
we'll see
questions?
what the public has to say and all that, but that's
Any other
important concessions to me.
Any other questions for staff or the petitioner at this time? All right, seeing nothing, we're going to ask you to take a seat real quick, and we may or may not bring you back up. Is there anybody in the room or online that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing nobody. Anybody in the room or online that wishes to speak in opposition to this petition? Seeing no one. All right, colleagues, what do you have?
Well, went right back to that one again, one that we were looking at with the red. Yeah. From this, it looks like there is nobody nearby who would be affected by this side yard setback. It's rural country. We're looking at agricultural buildings adjoining it. I think we've gotten important concessions to minimize this. So I am going to be comfortable supporting this petition with the conditions that I think he's agreed to moving
All right.
those.
I would like to, before we get into this, I would like to motion to separate and continue variance 26-29 Bravo. Therefore, that would give the petitioner the opportunity to either come back or make the decision to change the plan to 7 feet, making this moot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. I would like to make the motion to continue variance 26-29 Bravo.
So, if I can, if he's comfortable making the changes where we're get out of here tonight and he can proceed with his project.
Right. That's fine, but continuing this gives him the option to review something and make the decision to dismiss and withdraw, or to come back and plead that case again for us.
Well, if he's, it seems to me he is, my intuition, my instinct is that he is comfortable making those as a condition of granting and he has people close to him who may be actual owners of this property who just might be nodding their heads in approval. So I think they'd like to get on with it rather than come back. So
All right, so I hear no second to my motion. All right. What else do we have?
Well, if any, I'll make a motion. I move that we approve variances 2629A and 629B, the Sandifer, now wait a minute, no. That we, how can I?
Should I help you with that?
Help me with that.
Okay, great. You've made a motion to approve those two, the Rockney side yard setback variance to Chapter 804 and the Rockney riparian area setbacks variance to Chapter 813, subject to the condition, as we just heard the petitioner say under oath, that they will move the structure 7 feet to the north. And what was the other, 7 feet to the north?
3 feet, 5 feet, 5 feet to the west.
And 5 feet to the west, subject to that condition.
I just would like to ask staff one question. If they move it to the north, is the side yard setback still necessary?
Yes.
Okay, and we have the option to either request that he move it or to grant his variance, correct?
So you could deny the riparian area setback, which forces them to move it 7 feet. You could continue it to the October meeting, in which case, if he goes back to the drawing board, tries to move it 7 feet, cannot, he doesn't have to pay to reapply for the variance.
What I was trying to protect.
But if you approve it, he doesn't have to move it. He could keep it, because if you're saying approval and then conditioning he move it 7 feet, he doesn't need that variance.
Right. So that's why I'm gonna move that we grant 29A on the condition that they move it 5 feet west. That we deny 29A move 5 feet to the west. We deny 29B because
Those are separate motions. Deal with one.
okay,
Deal with one.
separate motion. I move we grant 629A on the condition that they move the structure 5 feet west away from the property line.
And also 7 feet north?
Right now we're
5
just
feet.
looking at A,
Okay,
which
fine.
is side yard only.
I'll second that.
Okay.
If I may, may I? Moving the structure 5 feet to the west would probably move it to the house. What I think the petitioner was saying is that he could move it an additional 2 feet
That's right.
to the west
That's
for
right.
a total side yard setback of 5 feet.
That's right.
Is that correct? Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
then I move so that, thank you. That was an important
For the
misunderstanding.
for the record, the defendant was affirmative with that
Yeah,
question.
yes, we've been a little informal here. And so
First, I withdraw my motion and you withdraw your last one because you're going to change it, correct? We're starting anew.
starting anew.
Starting anew. I withdraw mine, you withdraw yours.
That's true.
All right, good.
You want to try?
No.
Okay. I move we grant variance 2629A on the condition that the total setback permitted, the total encroachment permitted is how many feet?
10 feet.
10 feet.
The encroachment permit is 10 feet. Yes.
I'll second that one.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-26-29A, which is the Rocky Side Yard setback variance to Chapter 804, with the condition of moving the structure to only allow an encroachment of 10 feet on the eastern property line. A vote yes is a vote to approve. Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Motion is approved 4-0.
Now, if I understand it, if we simply deny 2629B, that's an acceptable outcome to the petitioners because they can move the structure 7 feet and then they don't need a variance.
Well, we're not here for their acceptance. We're here to make a decision.
Right, but given that they've acknowledged they don't really need this variance, and I'm going to move to deny 26-29B, the riparian variance.
I mean, Daniel, you've been working with this case does this achieve the objectives of the landowner?
I believe as stated during the petitioner's testimony that this would meet those standards.
So there's no movement north of 9 feet, is that correct? That's necessary anymore?
It's that the petitioner has agreed that they can move it 7 feet directly to the north.
Okay.
Through a redesign of the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then they won't need a variance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just, because I don't want them to. We keep it open. If they run into problems, they can come back in and, right?
I am not going to support that motion of denial straightforward because it does not protect the petitioner's right to come back and plead a case should he go back to the drawing board and review this. It just makes no sense. It does the same exact thing but protects the petitioner. So
I mean, he
Go
can still
ahead.
go ahead with his design, but if he gets into problems, we still have the case open in case he needs to come back in
Exactly.
and appear before us. So we're trying to help you out. Okay, so you're able to go ahead. I also would vote, well, I'd like to make a motion that we continue.
well, there's an open motion on the table.
Okay.
Is there a second anywhere? It sounds like a no.
I don't hear a second.
Okay,
All right,
go ahead,
you have the
Melissa.
floor.
I'd like to continue VAR-26-29B.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue VAR-26-29B, which is the riparian area setback variance to Chapter 813. This would be continued to the October 7th meeting, but if the petitioner moves the structure so as to not require this variance, then we will withdraw it from that agenda and they can receive a permit sooner than that date.
Perfect.
So a vote yes is a vote to continue this to October 7th, 2026, just in case. Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved, 4-0.
Thank
It's
you.
a beautiful property. That's a beautiful property, and good luck with everything that you're doing there.
My suggestion is you continue to work closely with staff and get the outcomes that you want. And if you need, you can come back. Hopefully, we won't see you. All right, let's move forward. Looking at number 4 on your scorecard, if you're following along, variance 26-30. The Quintana Automotive Sales and or Rental Use Variance to Chapter 811. Mr. Brown, you've got the call on this as well. Before you get into your presentation, could you please confirm that the petitioner withheld all of their statutory requirements on communication with neighbors?
Yeah.
Fantastic. You got the floor.
Thank you. So the purpose of this is that the petitioner is seeking to renew a discontinued use of an automotive sales and or rental use on the property that taking the form specifically of a used car dealership. The petitioner intends to purchase the property and utilize it as their primary business location. According to the petitioner's use determination application, quote, used to showcase cars for sale, will not have any cars worked on at this location, used for pickup and delivery of cars. Currently, the petition site is vacant in terms of use, though there is a structure on site, and retains the ability to operate any uses in a limited business zoning district. Now, prior to the adoption of the County Development Ordinance and its map changes on December 18th, 2024, this property was zoned pre-existing business, which was defined as, quote, pre-existing business district. The pre-existing business PB district is defined as that which is primarily intended to accommodate commercial and business service uses that were in operation prior to the adoption of this 1997 zoning ordinance. The intent of the PB district is to identify locations of commercial activity that are not supported by the comprehensive land use plan, but where commercial and service operations continue to exist, unquote. This district is identified for the purposes of maintaining commercial activities with business zoning, while at the same time not allowing for the expansion of new business activity proximate to the location of the PB district. Expansion of the business is permitted within the lot of record, however. The type of business may be changed to one of equal or lower intensity as identified in Table 2-1 permitted land uses, unquote. During the adoption of the CDO, all PB properties were rezoned to another more clearly defined zoning district as staff and the commissioners saw it. Further, the prior planning director conducted research and determined that the site was used as a residential site until 2011, and then an automotive sales business called Morgan Auto Services moved into the property at that point. Since automotive/boat repair shop was a high-intensity use under the prior code, it was determined that the automotive use was not legal, as shown in Exhibit 8 on the staff report, and a planning process would first be required to resume the use. Now, the use of automotive sales and or rental is defined as establishments primarily engaged in the retail sale of new and used automobiles, non-commercial trucks, motorhomes, or recreational vehicles, including incidental storage, maintenance, and servicing. In addition, establishments involved in renting passenger cars, non-commercial trucks, motorhomes, or recreational vehicles, including incidental parking and servicing of vehicles available for rent. This use includes, but is not limited to, airport transportation service, automotive rentals, automotive sales, automotive supply, and motorcycle sales. The particularly important one is just automotive sales. Here are the location and zoning maps of the property, as well as the site conditions map. This is a photometry view of the property and the existing structure, and photos of the same. Here's what the petitioner has proposed so far as a preliminary plan for the property, measuring the setbacks from the sides, rear, as well as the width of the property. And here is a table of permitted land uses. As you can see from this, automotive sales and or rental is permitted in the general business and airport zoning districts. And the image on the right is a list of currently permittable uses in the limited business zoning district as shown in chapter 807 of the County Development Ordinance. So in regards to this case, staff recommends denial per chapter 841-4E5. The strict application of terms of the ordinance will not constitute unnecessary hardship when applied to the subject property. The petitioner or the owner have supplied new information under this use variance request regarding why the use variance constitutes unnecessary hardship. And I will take any questions.
All right. Let's go ahead and bring the petitioner or a representative up. I'm going to trust you've been paying attention and know to speak into the mic and sign your name and then speak your name.
My name is Christopher Quintana. Alrighty.
Mr. Quintana, could you raise your right hand and do you swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth as you know it?
Yes.
Fantastic. You're going to have 15 minutes. You've got it.
Thank you. So my objective here is to get my used car dealer license. In order to get that, I have to have a building that can support up to 10 vehicles, and it has to be zoned accordingly. Right now, we're at limited business, and we need to get to a general business zoning variance. So my idea with this dealership, we are looking to do mainly online sales. The purpose of the location is going to be just for showcase for me. We are going to do appointment only. It's not going to be ran every single day, but any time that I have an appointment available due to state standards, I will be available. I'm sorry. I do want to minimize any impact on any of the neighbors. There's a couple areas on here that I do not wish to utilize. We have already cleared up pretty much all this area. I got that boat out of there. I'm not planning on storing any vehicles that aren't running here. The area on the north side of the building up against this neighbor, I do not wish to really use most of that. I don't want to impact any of their values. That is not our intentions. Mainly the south of the building is the area that we are trying to utilize. Any kind of customer parking in the front. Maybe vehicles right up in the front area, also where that grass patch is. In the future, I do wish to do improvements to any of the outside areas where the grass is, maybe add gravel or asphalt on the sides. And then, yeah. Questions?
Do you have any questions for the petitioner?
I do want to reiterate, no mechanical work will be done here. I mean, possibly interior detail on the inside of the building, but nothing exterior shown to the public. So I have an off-site building at my home that I do all the mechanical work to. Any kind of deliveries will be done at my house, like any kind of transports. So nothing's going to be used for this building other than just a showcase.
Mr. Brown, could you flip back to the picture you had prior to this? I believe it showed the neighbor. Yeah, are the folks across the street, is that a commercial building? It looks like a commercial parking lot.
I believe that's a residential or agricultural use. At the very least, according to the zoning map, It is zoned agricultural residential 2.5.
That one it's used as a motorcycle repair shop. This one straight across down here.
Apologize, I thought Mr. Daly was referring to the property directly to the north here where my mouse is indicated. But yes, the property directly across the street is currently used as a motorcycle repair shop.
Is that within proper code?
That, I believe, might be in a similar state to the proposal that the petitioner is doing. And as you can see from this map, it is also zoned limited business.
The difference here between this property and the one across the street is the sales, I believe. Automotive sales and/or rental. Am I correct? That repair would be allowed in the agricultural, if conditionally, and service and limited business would be permitted with standards. It's the sales that is placed.
The motorcycle business to across the street is zoned limited business.
Yes.
And repair is different than sales. So there's a little bit of a difference there that we could look into.
Now, you mentioned something about a desire to asphalt the driveway as well.
Yes, in the future, if I am a permanent tenant here also.
Would that be,
So if the use variance is approved by the board, what we would require is a site plan, a commercial site plan, where we would go through the standards for parking, surfacing, landscaping, any detention required, things like that.
multiple steps?
The problem with turning it to general business is the other uses that could take place on that property, because it go, you know, of course, his intention is motor vehicle repair and sales. And
No, just sales.
Repair.
No repairs.
Yes, he repairs them at another facility.
So right now, the request before the board is under the CDO's defined use of automotive sales and/or rental use. So if the petitioner would like to optionally commit under a written commitment to narrowing that use, that's something that we could hear from them tonight and get recorded following the meeting. But I'll also note to Ms. Clemens' point, just to clarify, so he's zone limited business and this is a use variance. So what he's asking for and what he's saying is that there's no other appropriate use on this property. Therefore, I would like to be granted this automotive sales and/or rental. It doesn't give him any other uses under the general business zoning district.
okay,
if
thank you.
granted.
Thank you, Jackie.
That variance should just stay with me, correct? So like if I were to leave,
It
No, it
runs
stays with
with
the
the
property.
land.
Stays with the property.
Yes.
okay.
Was there a pre-existing use of auto sales?
In 2011, as Daniel Brown mentioned in the beginning part of the presentation, there was an automotive use, but there was a break in that use, and then it restarted, and then there was an enforcement issue which required it to close.
So there was a break, then it was no longer a pre-existing business. They tried to use it and they weren't allowed to.
So based on the prior director's research, there was a residential use there from 1997 to 2011. So I don't know if there was an error in zoning it pre-existing business at the time, but their determination was that it shouldn't have even been zoned pre-existing business. And if it was a low intensity use and it couldn't be transferred to the automotive repair or sales.
Would have this worked in 2023?
No, at that time, we would have still required the same process as what we were mentioning.
So it's not like it was closed for 6 weeks or 6 months. It was closed, the prior auto sale place was closed for a long time before now. So I don't,
No.
What I heard from the owners is that they had a repair shop there, and there was a lot of vehicles around and a lot of waste around the building. And whenever they had a complaint against them, they decided to just move out of that location completely without filing any kind of zoning variance for themselves. But from what the owner told me is that they kind of disappeared, and everything was moved out and everything was gone after that. But it was a repair facility with a lot of waste.
And about how long ago was that? Do you have any idea?
I do not. She didn't give me any specifics on that.
Okay,
But
well,
I did see some aerial shots of some of these areas back in the day, and I believe it was around the 2014 time era, right around there, just according to aerial shots, because you can see the mess that was on the property.
okay, that's helpful. I was wondering whether I could talk myself into doing pre-existing business, but I can't. That's too much for me to hang my hat on that. So we're back to the simple, straightforward question. That I understand we could say the general limited to car sales without authorizing repairs or any other business uses. Is that correct?
So repair is a different use, so they would not be able to do repairs in a addition to the sales.
Right. We could say limited to car sales, used car sales only, if we wanted to be very strict. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for the petitioner? All right, seeing none, why don't you go ahead and have a seat, and we'll call you up if need be.
Thank you.
At this time, do we have anybody present that wishes to speak in support of this petition? Do we have anybody online that wishes to speak in support of this petition? Seeing no one. Do we have anybody present in the courthouse that wishes to speak against this petition? Come forward. Same rules are going to apply, except you're going to get a limited amount of time. So you're speaking into the microphone, and sign in and state your name for us as well.
Mine's Gary Rutherford.
Okay. What's your last name?
Rutherford.
Rutherford?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Rutherford, could you please raise your right hand, and do you attest that the testimony you are about to provide us is the truth as you know it?
Yeah.
All right. You can have 3 minutes. Sure. Go ahead.
I live across the street, and there's been several businesses over the last several years come and go constantly. No gas there. They stay for about 1 year because there's no gas. They can't heat. I kind of oppose this because business I had a few years ago was kind of a trashy place, and a lot of people hung out over there constantly in the evening and made noise and mischief. And I've been there going on 35 years, and I'm getting too old for that crap. There was an automotive repair shop there about 3 years ago. After that, there was a guy who repaired equipment there. There was a stencil equipment vehicles there, and just recently a screen printer there. Used to be a gas station years and years and years and years ago. And my understanding was that the gas tanks are still underground, and the person who bought this ground years ago plowed off with a pump set and buried it in blacktop, I'm sorry. So I don't know if his tanks are still there. I have no idea. But I haven't, my concern is mischief at night and commotion. And the motorcycle shop, he has problems at nighttime, people with loud music and stuff too. So I'm getting too old to listen to that kind of stuff. But other than that, I haven't got a problem with business or anything, but it's just People come and go constantly. Why? I don't know. There's a problem somewhere along the line.
Is that all you have for us? Okay, well, thank you.
Guys,
I have a question for Mr. Rutherford. That sounds like it's been you had a long series of bad neighbors, and that you don't want another bad neighbor, and I don't blame you. And I don't know what staff would say, but we have some, assuming that, if everybody agreed and it was binding, that it could only be used car sales, there'd be no shop work taking place there, and that it would only be in operation, that no operations would take place after 8 p.m. Would that make you more comfortable?
Yeah, make me more comfortable, but like I say, people come there at nighttime, and I'm sure there's drinking going on. I have no idea, but like I say, there's mischief goes on.
Yeah, right.
I haven't got problems with auto sale. I mean, like that, but as long as there's not going to be repairs and stuff like that. Like I say, business comes and goes there for some reason, constantly.
Right.
Why, I don't know.
It's got a history that you don't trust a bit. It's nothing to do with Mr. Quintana, but it's got to do with the history of this property. It seems to draw problems. Right?
It's out in the country, and when people come by, there's people going back and forth, north and south. So they know it's empty or it's not empty.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, is there anybody else in the audience that wishes to oppose this petition and be heard? Seeing anybody online that wishes to oppose this, I see a hand. Could our tech crew please allow Deb? Unmute Deb, please, or Deb, can you please unmute yourself?
Deb, you will have to unmute from your screen.
I think I got it figured out.
All right, hi Deb.
And I apologize, I don't know how to get my camera going.
Deb, can you hear me?
Yes.
Right, can you please state your name?
My name is Deb Tomorrow, Tomaro.
All right, Tomorrow, could you please raise your right hand and attest that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth as you know it?
Yes, it is.
All right, we're going to set a clock with 3 minutes, and that's the time that you're going to have to share your thoughts. Go ahead.
Thank you. I also live across the street. I adjoin properties with Gary, who just spoke. Our biggest concern, I want to echo and support Gary, but I also have questions about lighting. I know a lot of car dealerships have very bright lights, and as Gary said, we live out in the country. We love to see the stars. We already have some pretty bright lights from the motorcycle repair shop. And I'm just curious as to what the lighting situation might be over there and how that might impact, because they're completely surrounded by residential, we're all residential around them. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for your thoughts. Is there anybody else online that wishes to speak in opposition of this petition? Please go ahead and click your hand raise. All right, I don't see any of that. Petitioner back. We're going to offer you 5 minutes to address the 2 concerns that were brought to you. If you could remember that you're still under our oath in that we expect your truthful testimony.
Yes, of course.
5 minutes, please.
All right, so for the lighting, I did not really think into adding any additional lighting. Can we go to one of those pictures for the front of the building? Because I believe there's some sort of light outside already. But no, I did not think that I'm going to be adding any additional lighting. If anything, my business hours were going to be before 5 p.m. I wasn't trying to stay there later than that, so lighting shouldn't really be an issue since everything's going to be during the day. I do know that I can't operate on Sundays too, so nobody will be there on Sundays showing any cars. Honestly, I shouldn't be there on Sundays either unless I'm inside of the building itself. I can always show vehicles inside the building for additional lighting, but there was no plans on adding any additional lighting to the exterior of the property. I do not want to operate late either, so you did mention 8 p.m. being maybe like a rule, but I wasn't expecting to stay there that late anyways, especially it's by appointment also. What were the concerns that Gary would like me to answer? Mr. Rutherford.
I think generally maybe speaking to the security of the property, how you will secure it after hours.
Okay. I was gonna add security cameras. I can't answer to the mischief that they've had in the past. It's only gonna be me and maybe one other person that operates, me and my partner. But for the most part, I wasn't planning on having big groups around. Everything's by appointment. I doubt I would have several people at once. It's not like a typical used car dealership. A lot of the stuff will be online. Some vehicles may be sold before they even reach my house or this location. Yeah, I don't believe there'd be any mischief being caused by me. I am fairly new to the city. I've lived here for 4 years. I came from Las Vegas, Nevada. So I don't really have a big crowd around me. So that's pretty much it.
Right.
You addressed the question I was going to ask. It's going to be you and one other colleague, and so two total. That will be employees,
exactly.
Staff. Okay, good. I wanted to know that too. Thank you.
Please.
Mr. Quintana, would you accept that if you had to add or replace any lighting, that you would make it dark sky compliant?
Of course.
Okay. That's helpful to the neighbor across the street. Thank you.
I have a question regarding the operation of the business. It will help me better understand and to weigh in the concerns of your neighbors. It's a used car lot, but your appointment only. If folks are, I guess the operation of the business is not clear to me. Will folks be able to drive by and go, oh, hey, I want to go check out these vehicles, and be able to stop and get out of their vehicle and look around and kick the tire and look at a sticker on the windshield?
Yeah. So I guess it's mainly for purchases at that point where I'd have to make an appointment with them. It is required by the state to be available at certain times. But in the very beginning, I know there's going to be a lot of inventory that I have to research how to do finances with certain customers and like offering financing. At the very beginning, I only want to do vehicles that are just paid by cash right away. So I guess it's mainly, I need time to figure everything else out on that end, especially like trying to figure out how to get to auctions, purchasing vehicles, how to get them to my place. I won't be at the location very much. And then just doing sales online through Car Gurus, Facebook Marketplace, things like that, scheduling appointments that way.
Have you considered and I'm saying this only because it was one of the concerns of the folks in the opposing this, is have you considered some kind of lot security to shut down folks from even being able to approach when you or your partner is not there, like some kind of chain or some kind of fence or something to that liking? Have you considered that?
Oh yeah, we thought about adding bollards and having chains between both driveways. I don't want to impact anything up against the north property over there. It's right where that yellow 50-foot setback is, but mainly right over here in the front. But I believe we were just gonna apply bollards and then just a chain that goes straight across between both of those driveways whenever we're not there. And then we're gonna have security cameras too.
Have you had the opportunity to knock on the door of the motorcycle repair shop and discuss and get his or her feedback on best practices or some of the concerns of the traffic or mischief that's being described?
No, I have not.
Any other questions of the petitioner or of staff? All right, thank you. Why don't you go ahead and have a seat and we'll figure things out.
Thank you.
Lopin, I have a feeling you have some thoughts.
Well, I'm always very concerned about neighbors, but these concerns are not universal to not specific to this business, but generic. It seems to me if we approve this with the conditions that there would be no commercial activity after 7 p.m., that would minimize or eliminate the risk. The neighbor there after 7 p.m. doesn't have the right to be there because there are no commercial activities and there's no other reason for people to be there. So I'm leaning toward approving it with that condition.
You also add the condition of the light.
Yes, and that if any lighting is added, that it would be dark sky compliant.
Added or replaced. Yes.
Added or replaced. Yes.
Well, I could second that.
We have other thoughts to be shared before a motion?
That was consideration, but now I'll make a motion.
Okay.
And the motion is that I move we approve variance 26-30 with the conditions that there be no commercial activities after 7 p.m. on, and that any lighting addition or replacement be dark sky compliant.
And you want to add that it's limited to auto sales only?
Limited to auto sales only, not auto repair.
Second that.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Before you call roll, Director, could you clarify something quickly for me? There precedent of the BZA approving something with a condition of time restraint of business operating hours?
We have done that in the past. Okay, so there's been a motion and a second to approve VAR-26-30 with three.
No, I'm sorry, but it probably should say 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We don't want it opening. After 7 is just, I think 7, all business, commercial activity between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
I would second the amendment.
The amended motion has been seconded.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR-26-30, which is the Quintana Automotive Sales and/or Rental Use Variance to Chapter 811 with 3 conditions. Commercial activity be limited to the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. All lighting that is added or replaced on the site shall be in compliance with the dark sky organization, and that the use variance is limited only to automotive sales. A vote yes is a vote to approve the use variance with the conditions as stated. Margaret Clements?
Yes.
Skip Daly?
I'm going to explain myself. I'm going to vote no because I'm not comfortable putting a governmental restriction on business operating hours without a pathway for enforcement. So no.
Guy Loftman? That was a yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
Pamela Davidson?
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 3-1.
All right, well, congratulations. You still have a pathway to get there, and being a good neighbor is always recommended. All right, let's move forward. We have numbers 5, 6, and 7. Mr. Myers, you're back up to the table. Variances 26-32, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Turning Point Apostolic Church side yard. Yeah, I know. I'm not working well tonight, but thank you. Side yard setback, max impervious cover variance, and another side yard setback variance to Chapter 804. Mr. Myers, is the petitioner compliant with the statutory requirements for notification?
Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. So this is the Turning Point Apostolic Church side yard setback variance to Chapter 804 for a primary structure, a maximum impervious cover variance, Chapter 804 for the entire site, and a second side yard setback variance, Chapter 804 for an accessory structure. This property is located at 2633 North Smith Pike. It's zoned agricultural residential, and we're in Richland Township, Section 24. Petitioner is requesting 3 non-residential development standards variances in order to redevelop the petition site as a religious facility. The petition site is zoned agricultural residential and currently contains a 676 square foot single-family residence, 480 square feet of a detached garage, and a 984 square foot pole barn. The proposed religious facility will consist of an 11,667 square foot primary building, a 2,251 square foot accessory structure, new driveways, parking lot, sidewalks, landscaping, and rain gardens, including stormwater infrastructure. A future playground area is also proposed with the petition, but is listed as a possible future development. 2 variance requests are from the non-residential side yard setback requirement of the agricultural residential zone, which is 50 feet for non-residential structures. That is for the proposed primary building, which will be the religious facility on the north side of the property, and the relocated accessory structure, which is currently on the property, proposed to be relocated to an area that will be along the south of the property. And both of those will be in violation of the 50-foot non-residential side yard setback. The primary structure will encroach 31.67 feet into the side yard setback along the north property line, and the accessory structure will encroach 16.17 feet into the side yard setback along the south property line. Please note that both structures will still maintain what would have been the normal side yard setback for residential structures, which is a minimum of 15 feet. The maximum impervious cover of the property in this zoning district, which is the AGR zone, is 35,000 square feet for a lot with 2.51 to 5 acres. Normally, a property that's in a critical watershed like this one has more restrictive impervious cover requirements with respect to square footage. However, when a lot has a certain amount of acreage, it is outside of that threshold for additional regulations. So this property is in the Jacks Defeat critical watershed, which is important in consideration of impervious cover. But like I stated, its acreage is higher than what we would normally see with respect to additional restrictions regarding impervious cover. So the proposed religious facility will result in 67,500 square feet of impervious cover. That includes all of the structures, driveways, parking lots, sidewalks, etc., which is 32,500 square feet over the current limit. Here on the screen, I have the definitions relevant to this petition. We have a definition for religious facility, as well as a definition for impervious cover. We have a page dedicated to practical difficulties if we need to come back to these with respect to the petition's discussion. This slide is with regard to parking and impervious cover. So table 6-1 in the county development ordinance requires that a religious facility have at least one space for every 4 seats within the building. The proposed development includes a total of 113 parking spaces, which is the minimum required for a proposed capacity of 450 seats, which is what is proposed with this facility. Chapter 814-11 of the County Development Ordinance provides an opportunity to modify that parking minimum as it relates to a violation of the maximum impervious cover. So specifically, Chapter 814-11B1C reads, planning staff may approve a reduction of the number of required spaces if the minimum required parking conflicts with the maximum impervious coverage permitted for the site or tree canopy preservation area. Therefore, staff has the ability to reduce the parking spaces, the minimum required parking spaces, from 113 down to 57 spaces per this chapter provision. Reducing overall parking area could allow for future expansions on the property, such as the playground, and also avoid needing another maximum impervious cover variance in the future if the primary structure needs expanding or other expansions of impervious cover are warranted. So part of the discussion this evening is staff will be curious to hear from the petitioner in stating what maximum impervious cover they need at the moment and what they might need in the future as to limit the number of times that they may be coming back to this board for further variances with respect to that regulation. Here on the screen, we have the location map. Again, we're in Richland Township. This is North Smith Pike running north-south. And we have to the south, West Woodyard Road. The petition site has road frontage only on North Smith Pike. Here we have the site conditions map. You'll note that there are no slopes greater than 25%, which is the only percentage that's of regulation in this area. I will note with the contour lines here too, you can kind of see a natural drainage swale cutting through the property, running from the east to the west, and that will come up as an important fact later on in the presentation. Now on the screen, we have a map of the critical watersheds. So you can see the property is clearly identified in the Jacks Defeat Creek critical watershed. And also on the screen, we have a map that indicates the property is located in the County Development Ordinance urban area boundary, which is one of the triggers for the construction of sidewalks. So the petitioner will be constructing sidewalks, and they are not requesting a variance to that standard. On the screen now, we have Table 2-804 for the Agricultural Residential Zoning District, which details the maximum impervious cover value, as well as the side yard setback value for non-residential use. Now we have a series of photographs from aerial imagery showing the petition site in its current state. showing the existing residence, the small detached garage, and the accessory pole barn. Here we have some street view imagery showing the property in question. This view is shown from the property immediately to the south, and it's zoomed in a little bit so you can kind of see the backyard beyond the chain link fence, which is the petition site. Now on the screen, we have the letter from the petitioner's representatives stating their requests with respect to the side yard setback, as well as the impervious cover variance, and their rationale as to why they believe the variances should be approved. We have a consent letter from the owners of the property for the petitioner's representative to submit the variance application and operate on their behalf. And we have a boundary retracement survey that shows the current conditions of the property. I will note that the current pole barn on the property is meeting that 15-foot residential side yard setback, and that pole barn structure is the one that's going to be relocated elsewhere on the property to the south and west. On the screen, we have the conceptual site plan shown, provided by the petitioner's representative, showing the new structures as well as all of the new hardscape or impervious cover. This page shows it a little bit more zoomed in to give a bit more detail, showing all of the parking, sidewalks. The accessory structure is located to the south here along the south property line, and the new building is here along the north property line, and then, of course, that future playground area as mentioned before. You can see in the middle of the page here these oval shapes. Those are proposed rain gardens. I believe they are terraced as you go down in elevation. And one of the rationale points provided by the petitioner is that they are wanting to keep the side yards or encroach into the side yard setbacks so that they are able to utilize the existing topography of that area for drainage purposes. You will also note that the driveway entrance will also be slightly shifting towards the south instead of being where it currently is, which is right along the north property line in the corner. Okay, we do have one letter from the public. This comes from the neighbor to the north, which interestingly is also a church. And that church actually received a special exception from the Monroe County Plan Commission in 1995. Back then, the zoning regulations were different, and the church facility needed a special exception from the Plan Commission. We don't do special exceptions anymore, and churches are permitted in almost every zoning district now and just must follow the standard site plan procedures. So the petitioner provided some information as well as some dates that the staff was able to verify with respect to the Plan Commission meeting minutes back then, that their church was did receive that special exception and was discussed having 2 phases. They've only completed the first phase, and they are hoping to initiate the second phase in the future. So they, as stated in the letter, and I have physical copies as well for any members of the public as well as the members of the board, that talks about their concerns with respect to the development of their neighbor's property to the south. Okay, that brings me to staff's recommendation. So breaking this out into 3 different ones, staff recommends approval of the side yard setback variance of Chapter 804, citing the findings of fact and practical difficulties have been demonstrated. That is for the side yard setback for the primary structure. Staff recommends denial of VAR-26-32B, which is the maximum impervious cover variance to Chapter 804, citing findings of fact, specifically number 1C and number 3. Practical difficulties have not been demonstrated. And finally, VAR-26-32C, staff is recommending approval, which is the side yard setback variance to the accessory structure, citing the findings of fact, and that practical difficulties have been demonstrated. I will now take any questions.
All right, are there any imminent concerns that need to be asked of staff at this time? Seeing nothing, let's go ahead and bring up the petitioner and or representatives. If you could just be reminded that to adjust your microphone as needed. Go ahead and sign in and then speak your name to us, and we'll apply that oath. Are you going to be sharing your 15 minutes?
I will be sharing my 15 minutes, so I'm having him go ahead and sign in.
We're going to need you both to sign in, and while that's happening, can you go ahead and speak your name at least?
Yes, my name is Chelsea Moss with Abram Moss Design Group.
Okay, thank you, Chelsea. And perhaps if you like, just to make sure it's picked up, your name?
My name is Ron Hawkins.
Ron?
Pastor of the church.
Okay, Pastor. If the two of you could please raise your right hand. Is the testimony you're about to provide the truth as you know it?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. We're going to set 15 shared minutes for you guys, and you can go ahead.
Okay. It's great to be here. I am the site engineer for this project, and I'm mostly going to address the impervious area as that is the portion that is most concerning from staff's perspective. So I want to give you a little bit of a history and some insight into where this church currently sits. This church is in the downtown Ellettsville area. It is right on Jack's Defeat Creek. They have expanded the church in the past, and in an effort to meet their growing congregational needs, they have actually applied and had plans designed and everything for another expansion. FEMA turned them down. They are in the floodway right now. Part of the church is elevated. There is a portion of the church that is no longer usable because of flood inundation and they can't get it operational. The congregation keeps growing and they are out of space. Their current seating capacity is 240 and their average attendance right now is 220. That's over 90% capacity, and the recommendation typically in church building is you shouldn't be exceeding 80% capacity. They're well beyond that. So if they have visitors come, there's almost no seating. Ron will talk a little bit more to that in the future or once I'm done. But from an engineering standpoint, they can't expand where they currently are. With their current capacity in their current site, we are looking at they currently have, I believe I wrote down 45,000 square feet of impervious area at their existing site. Just to give you a perspective of where the impervious area we're talking about at 67.5, we're talking about doubling the size of the building, but we're not doubling the size of their existing impervious area. So this new site would be a better use, a less impactful use per seat as far as impervious area goes. It is zoned agricultural, but this is in the urbanizing area. It's on Smith Pike, so it backs up against traditional agricultural area, but it's highly residential, and it does already have several church and child development facilities in near proximity. Grace Baptist is probably the largest church, Grace Church, which is just south of them. They are about 1,200 feet south of this site, and Grace has about 61,000 square foot of impervious area. Then we also have the Head Start and the Villages just south of us as well. So this isn't a unique type of development along Smith Pike. We're not talking about putting a big church in the middle of nowhere. the church has been very thoughtful and mindful in what they're developing. They're not going extravagant. This has not got tons of wings and everything. It is a square building. It has a second story. They are trying to use their space efficiently. We have designed this parking lot to be 113 spaces, which is the minimum required by the ordinance. There are allowances for administrative reductions in that. I know Drew mentions that in places in the report and the findings of fact. My concern is, and in talking with the church staff, that if we go much below that, that is one car for every 4 people. If we start pushing below that, we're not going to have enough parking for people when they get there. That's going to be your average family size coming to church. And so 1 to 4 is actually more strict than the old ordinance, which was 1 to 3. So we're out on parking, in my opinion, to begin with. The parking layout looks a little wonky. I'll give you, I know Drew asked kind of what our intention was with the big open space in the middle. The easternmost open space, that is to allow for a front section addition somewhere down the line. Right now, the expansion is going to be good for them for their foreseeable future. And although in an ideal scenario, we would try to get full variance up front, we understand that we're asking for a substantial variance right now. And they are looking for other options, and I have even brought up other options if they do the addition in the future. But to plan for that right now, we feel is a little too far out. So at this point, all we've done is made sure our parking is laid out so that we're minimizing the disruption to that while still providing reasonable ADA access and access to the porte-cochere, the awning in the front. Let's see. So from their current position, they bought this property in 2024. They did buy it before the new ordinance was put into effect, but my clients did their due diligence. They did have a member of their trustees call and talk to planning. We're not sure exactly who they talked to at the time, but they did do some research into it and didn't just purchase a piece of property. As with many churches, though, we're through planning and funding, we're just now getting to where we're getting boots on the ground, wanting to actually get design documents for everything. And so that's where the impervious area has kind of come up and become a bit of a sticking point. My concern with any of the mitigations that Drew has recommended in reducing parking or reducing the size of the building is that's not going to meet their purpose and what they're needing to do with this property. The longer they're stuck on the property in the flood zone, the riskier it gets for them. There are certain limits in floodways, particular, that if a large enough storm comes through and you get enough damage, rebuilding can be prohibitive or prohibited by FEMA if a certain percentage of a building is damaged. And so they are going to have harder and harder issues the longer they stay in that building, not only because of capacity, but also just staying there. They've put a lot of time and effort in trying to get moved to the site, and at this point, these variances are kind of the sticking point. Living Waters did mention keeping a buffer. From the survey, the existing woodline buffer appears to be completely on Living Waters property on that side of the parcel. We are not required to have a buffer yard, but because our parking is along there, we will have very intense parking lot landscaping with the trees, the shrubs, all the standards. We are not requesting any variances from landscaping. So that will all be along there and be an incredible buffer between the Living Waters and this church. So,
Oh, I'm a preacher. I need to ask how much time I have.
You have 6.5 minutes.
6.5 minutes? Okay, well, I won't take all of that, but first of all, I want to say that we appreciate the opportunity to address the board, and thank you for your consideration in this variance. I am, as I said, I'm the pastor. I've been the pastor at Turning Point for 28 years. My predecessor, my mentor, my pastor was there for 34 years. This church was founded in 1960 at 210 West Vine Street in Ellettsville. They built alongside Jack's Defeat Creek, and we have been fighting Jack's Defeat Creek for years. We have experienced flooding. We have a fellowship building on our property that we finally just gave up on because we had to keep going in and repairing it, and we decided our money was better spent building a building fund and moving. We did try, as Chelsea alluded to, we did try to build where we are now. A few years ago, FEMA said the codes have changed in the last 20 years, obviously. No building, can't build anything there as far as FEMA said. Go back just a few years after I became the pastor, so 25-ish years ago, our congregation grew from about 40 to about 80 within about a year or two. And we were in our current, the building then seated about 90 people, 70 comfortably, but we were pushing 70, 80, 90, the shoe telling the foot how big to grow. We kept bouncing 70 to 90, and we wanted to move then. Had some trouble finding property then. We decided to buy a home that was adjacent to our church property and demolished that. We were able to build, again, that's been 20-some years ago, we were able to build a pretty interesting building elevated up out of the flood zone. We built a sanctuary that seats 230, 240 tight, and we built the sanctuary, restrooms, office. We still have our original building that is at ground level. That part of the church has taken on water a couple of times, but we've been able to repair it. We started the building for children and youth, but we've outgrown that. We have 20 babies in our church right now that are getting ready to go into nursery class. We don't know where to put them. We have a lot of young adults. We're a multi-generational church. In the last few years, our attendance has gone from about 160 to we're pushing 220 and more on our main Sunday service. So we have tried for the last 7 years to find property. We had an offer on the land right across from Arby's in Ellettsville, where they've got the apartments now. We had an accepted offer, and we're pursuing financing when COVID hit, and the bank pulled out on us. So we were disappointed about that. We've looked for land, constantly. It's either way overpriced or there's just not enough acreage to put a church. So we were ecstatic when we saw this property up for sale. We were on our way to Pachetto's one night, and my wife said, "That's for sale." So the next morning, we met with our realtor. We had some people in the church call the county, find out if there were any codes that we needed to be aware of. We felt like we did our due diligence then, and made an offer, purchased the land 2 years ago. And as Chelsea said, we've been working towards our financing, towards our planning, and we're very disappointed to hear that this has come up because we were just so excited about this new property. I will tell you that I feel like we've done, we're trying our best anyway to build a building, as she said, in a square box. We are going to use the main sanctuary for worship / recreation / dinners. That's what we're doing right now. So we've built as small as we feel like we can. We have 220 right now, and I really feel like building a 450-seat auditorium is what we need to do. And I feel like we'll grow into that fairly quickly. Everything I'm telling you tonight is based on our history, of growth and what I feel like is our projected trends. And again, I say thank you for considering us tonight. Appreciate that.
Right,
Go under
thank you.
6.5 minutes.
Why don't you hang on and we'll see questions.
My question is, I read the materials and I've heard you both. Your attendance right now, 240 would be capacity, and you're at 220. This new facility is 450, so it's not quite doubled, And the parking spots, which really affect impervious cover, is 113 parking spots for 450. That's a lot of growth from 240 to 450 with those immutable parking spots. So any insight onto that?
Okay, so they had a growth of 50 attendants in the last 3 years, and that is with a cramped space. And your rate of growth is going to decline with a cramped space. People just will come and visit and not feel like they have the space to stay. So with still getting a growth of 50 over the past 3 years, I think the number that you guys were talking is within the next 4 years, 5 years, you could easily see 360 and possibly more. And so growing into that, getting to that 80% is there. I mean, that's potentially reaching that 80% in 5 years. They feel that the growth is there, and that's in talking both with the church, but also their consultants. That's where this looks to be going. And so by putting in double the capacity, that's what they're planning for.
And the impervious cover, the playground is maybe potential, but that would also affect impervious ground, I think, at some point, depending on what the surface matter was.
Yeah, Drew, I left you a voicemail on that. If it's a mulch or something, my understanding was that did not fall under impervious. Is that incorrect? I mean, we understand if there's a concrete or like a mat,
asphalt,
yeah, but with a typical more of a mulch playground scenario, which is what you guys are considering, we're not looking at anything crazy fancy, that would be impervious, correct?
So on the screen, we have the definition for impervious cover, and it gives some examples. It says impervious surfaces shall include without limitation rooftops, gravel areas, excluding landscape applications, pervious pavers, asphalt or concrete, private access roads, driveways, and parking lots, decks, patio areas, swimming pools, and tennis courts. So it's my understanding that if it's truly mulch, which would be similar to a landscaping feature, that would not count as impervious cover, but we would want to consult the stormwater program.
Yeah, I know on other projects I've had that has been the determination. We've only counted the concrete areas in a playground, but I just wanted to kind of confirm that.
Good to know. Thank you.
As you stated, the neighboring church or the church a quarter mile down the way.
Yes.
You said they currently have 1,000 square feet of impervious?
That would be Grace Church, and they are about 1,200 feet south of us, I believe. GIS measurements quickly, so.
Yes.
I just have a question, Ms. Moss, it's good to see you again. Have you given much consideration to impervious pavers?
So per the ordinance, they don't help us. They don't give us any extra credit, and that's why we've not pursued that.
I see.
So.
I have a staff question. When they started looking at this property, was the ordinance different so that they would have been able to proceed?
So back before December 18th, 2024, which is when the county development ordinance was adopted, the ordinance regulated sites by building coverage in most cases. I don't know what the stormwater program ordinance was like at that time in its specific detail. But we do have record of someone calling the office and inquiring whether or not a church would be permitted on this property. And back then, the zoning was agricultural residential, which was very similar to what it is zoned now. And the basis of the conversation was, yes, the use of a religious facility is permitted, but please submit a pre-design for more information about the commercial development process of that. And we have no record of any pre-design being submitted after that conversation, but we did not have the maximum impervious cover regulations as they are today, as strict as they are today, back then in 2024.
Let me ask the staff another question. If the building has that footprint, and I know we can fudge around a little bit with parking spots, not optimal, but we could. The impervious ground, I mean, that's kind of, just those two things have really set them above the number they need, just the building itself and the parking lot, correct? Before the sidewalks, before everything else you need, just because of the footprint of that building.
I don't have a line item calculation of what the percentage of maximum or impervious cover is of the sidewalks, what is of the hardscape, meaning parking and driveways, and we can look at the structure and tell what its square footage is along with the accessory structure. So I can't give you an example of percentages, but a lot of the impervious cover, looking plainly at the site plan, does come from the structures as well as the parking area and driveways.
You'd say that.
I'll allow you to respond to that after you allow the answer to what is the material of your little island there?
So the
Obviously
kind of big weird island in the middle.
Well, obviously it's meant to
It is
expand the
just grass.
parking and then expand the building, but what's the material of it?
It'll be grass. At this time, the intent is that will be grass.
Now, you wanted to comment on that last.
Yes, so I do have some quick calculations. So we have just under 14,000 square feet is allocated to the buildings. So that is the main building and the accessory structure. And then 47.5 is parking, just the asphalt on the parking, not even including the curbs. The remaining 6,100 is your curbs and sidewalks, and we've gone pretty minimal on sidewalks and stuff. We're not going crazy on that, but 6,100 is that kind of remaining. So the parking is our biggest, but as I said, that we're concerned about reducing that number because of the size of families that they have. So.
And connecting to the existing sidewalk structure of the neighborhood is not going to be an issue?
No, so we have a connecting sidewalk. There is intermittent neighborhood sidewalks right now,
Sure.
But we do connect the sidewalk along the north side of the parking all the way out to a new sidewalk along the road. So.
Of course, been in and out of style, so.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions for staff or the petitioner? All right, depending on what we have, we might might invite you back up, pardon me. All right, at this time, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Please come on up. Been here for a while, you know the drill. Please. If you could state your name for us.
Justin Honeycutt.
Mr. Could you please raise your right hand? Do you attest that the testimony that you're about to provide is the truth as you know it?
It is, yes.
3 minutes for your comments.
Okay, I won't need that. Just I wanted to talk on a couple things. So I am a board member of the church, and some of the things I wanted to address the attendance question. And so I did want to say we do have the numbers they said were spot on, but we do actually have more members to our church than just that. We have several, quite a few of our older residents who don't like the crowds, and they say, you know, we'll join us or we'll come to the service as soon as, you know, we have more room to that. So we do have closer, I don't know the exact number, but it is closer to 300-ish members of our church as opposed to just what the attendance is on the average. So I wanted to add that. Also, there's a lot of ministries that we used to do or want to do that we're not able to do at this time because of our building, and we don't have the space for that at this time. So we don't have the kitchen anymore. We used to do some dinners and things like that for the community, for the homeless. We want to be able to do that and serve the community at our new building, which we're not able to do at this time. So, and we want to be good neighbors and serve the community, and just looking for the opportunity to do that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this petition? Seeing no one, is there anybody online that would like to speak in favor? Raise that Zoom platform his hand. All right, seeing no one. Anyone in the audience wish to speak in opposition of this petition? Anybody online wish to speak in opposition? Fantastic. Let's go ahead and have some discussion.
Well, to me, the only real concern is the impervious cover. The staff has recommended approval on the side yard setback, both of those, and I'm good with that. The impervious surface, I'm concerned about that. I mean, look at the weather out right now. The rain is so hard. Where does it all go? I have a lot of concerns about that. And I don't know how to address it because the physical footprint of the building and 450 versus 113 spots. I mean, we could say, gee whiz, you could have fewer spots, but that may be a problem going into the future.
Well, but my soft spot is people who start one set of plans and then we move the goalposts. I'd like where we put the goalposts. I think the impervious rules we have are very sensible, and I don't like varying them. But they searched and searched and searched and found a piece of property which would meet their goals. And I understand not then going down with a set of plans, because you got to get the money. You got to make sure you're going to be able to pay. I've done building projects at my church, and I'm sympathetic with them having inquired, saying it was looking positive. So I'm certainly comfortable with the recommended approvals, but I'm also comfortable with going ahead and saying that started their planning, and I'm willing to let them proceed on their original understanding.
I'd like to ask Mr. Myers at the beginning or the middle of your presentation, you mentioned some curiosity about a few subjects. Did the petitioner relieve any of your curiosity?
Let me get back to that 1 second. So I believe in most cases, yes, because the playground was communicated as mulching rather than another type of surface that may be considered impervious. It did not mention any additional expansion currently in their plans other than the playground. But it is, maximum impervious cover variances are not a blanket variance. They are determined with respect to a certain request, just like buildable area and slope variances. So if they are if the variance for impervious cover is approved this evening, it's approved for the square footage that they are proposing. And if that they need to expand in the future, then they will have to come back to this board for further evaluation and another variance.
Thank you.
I have one question of staff. In the back of the church, there were some rain gardens that were established. Is there anything that they could do with regard to the planting area in the back that could mitigate rainwater runoff?
Although I do have an environmental science background, I don't know all the particular options available to them with respect to the topography of the site. The terraced rain gardens sound like a very nice design, and I'm sure that their engineering firm has done their calculations or their math on the amount of rainwater that those areas are supposed to accommodate. But I'm sure that there are other opportunities for further expanding the conservation efforts. The general idea for stormwater flow is to spread it out and slow it down. So I'm not sure if they've entertained that idea for that back portion of the property. They have not mentioned anything about future use of that area, whether it be for picnics or what you have. So
Also, I've invited you back to help clarify some of that reminder that the oath is held.
Yes, thank you. So the intent is those rain gardens will do some they will detain back and spread that flow out some. They will also be the bulk end of our treatment. So getting any of the impurities out of that stormwater in order to meet the stormwater ordinance. But then I have also, and we have not gone through and fully sized anything on purpose because this is so critical to how this moves forward, but we have tons of space to work with. And so that very back corner, mostly towards the north end, is where water is currently exiting the site. It does make for a good area to put in additional detention, traditional dry detention, in addition to those bioretention areas. Because this is in a critical watershed, it does have more stringent detention requirements anyways. So it will have kind of the most stringent in the county within those critical watersheds. Stormwater ordinance has gone to a set discharge per acre. And I believe the critical watersheds are half of what the rest of the county is. It's pretty extensive. So
We assume that your client is committed to every possible avenue should we bang the gavel in approval to protecting that area from the water runoff.
yeah, so we have already had the discussions about maintenance of these items. I'll be providing them with full maintenance. So this will all be, it'll go through stormwater review. We'll have to put that in just as part of the normal design for this. They won't get approved plans before stormwater approves it. And in addition to that, I have had preliminary conversations with them about what the maintenance on that looks like. Maintenance for stormwater management in the county now has to be recorded. So we put together the maintenance manual and they have to sign an agreement that is then recorded at the courthouse for perpetuity of the project. So
I appreciate you coming back. Thanks. All right. We have any other discussion here? Are we ready to move forward?
We're ready to make a motion to approve variances 26-32A, B, and C for the Turning Point Church side yard setback variance to Chapter 804 and also the impervious cover variance to Chapter 804. Based on practical difficulties, would you say? Is that what you would say?
What would you?
Yes, yes.
The motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to approve VAR-26-32A, 32B, and 32C. That's the side yard for the primary structure, the impervious cover, and the side yard for the accessory structure. A vote yes is a vote to approve all three variances with no required conditions. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 4-0.
Here you go.
I think we should run away.
I know we had decided to move the rule change till the end, but may I suggest we move, is there any may we do that next time for those of us who left windows down on our car?
Sure, yes.
Yes, and are very stressed
We're going
about it.
to, we're gonna officially here, adjourn the meeting, suspending the administrative business until our next scheduled meeting. Thank you, good luck. Please continue to work well with staff, and we'll see you guys down the road.
Yeah, continue your good work.